Good morning, everyone. Merry Christmas to y'all. Hope everyone's having a good day, getting to spend some time with family, friends, maybe open some presents. Hopefully, Santa was good to everybody. Certainly was good. Here to the Carter household. Slept late today. Still got a little time off from work. So, I already got everything prepped out for Christmas dinner this evening. I figured I'd take a little time and spend a little time with you guys. Talk about Christmas time in the penitentiary. I'll kind of paint a little picture and then I'll tell you about the last Christmas that I spent working at the Styles unit, TDCJ. Now, Christmas, as you could imagine inside the penitentiary, is not festive. There might be some decorations put up around visitation area, the warden's office, admin, but back inside in the unit, general population, segregation, no. It was just another day. Um, I hate to generalize inmates. I can really only speak from my perspective. And from my experience, inmates that I dealt with, they were not festive during Christmas time. When they were in the free world, the ones that had family, I guess they did something Christmas related. I don't know what. I highly doubt it was like what I did, probably what you, the viewer, did. Set up a Christmas tree, put some lights outside, open presents, sleep late. The next day, maybe go shopping. I remember back in the day, the only thing that was open on Christmas Day was the movie theater. So it wasn't uncommon to go out and see a movie. These guys, no, no. The crime that they were involved in, their general lifestyle. Okay, I can say that because it's what led them to being in the penitentiary, and especially what led them to being in segregation. So they viewed it very differently. Now, on Christmas Day in there, occasionally, very rarely, you might get a Happy Holiday boss, Merry Christmas boss, something of that nature. If it did come from one, typically it came from an SSI, which, as you know, was a trustee. Were they sincere about it? I don't know, but every now and again you'd hear it. The ones that were in the cells, no, no, not at all. Typically, they would try to make the day, in my experience, they would try to make the day as difficult as possible for the officers. Here's why. They weren't going to celebrate Christmas themselves. They knew it was Christmas. They knew that the COs that were working there either had family and needed the overtime or didn't have any family, was enjoying working, or was a new boot, hadn't built up any time yet, and had to work Christmas time because everybody was calling in with their personal time, their comp days, all that. There were a lot of volunteers to work Christmas. It was one of the few times that you would actually get paid overtime and not just your comp time. And that typically went to the more senior officers. If you had a month over me and I had asked to work that day, if I was off. If you had asked to work that day, it would go to the one who had the more seniority. This particular day, this Christmas Day 2014, it was part of my shift. I don't remember which day of my 4 days it was because I do remember having to work the next day. So it might have been my second day on the shift. I know it wasn't what we called our Monday. So it was a good time to work. You'd make some extra money. And the other good thing about it, less inmate interaction in segregation. As I've talked about in previous videos, on Sundays, we wouldn't pull the inmates out, take them to the rec room. We still had to take them to shower. We had to serve trays. But once we were done with that, it was pretty chill. You'd make your security rounds. Inmates, depending on the pod you worked in, typically they'd leave you alone. Depending on reputation and all that, everything was subjective. But the times that I worked, Sundays were your easy day. They were your break day. Christmas was like that as well. We weren't going to pull the inmates out and put them in the rec room, so less offender movement. We were going to take them to shower. We were going to serve chow. This was one of the better meals that the guys would get. Typically, when we'd serve the trays, it'd be just a blue tray with some kind of food. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. With some kind of food on it. Christmas Day, a little bit better. It was a little more festive. They got a little bit more on the tray. I want to say it was some kind of chopped up turkey. It looked like turkey cubes, I guess. Stuffing. I didn't taste it, but I would imagine it would be maybe the cheapest kind of stuffing that you could get. Little taste of some cranberry sauce. Cabbage. Cabbage was real popular around the holidays, maybe because it's cheap and it's plentiful. So they got a lot of extra food as far as that went. They also got their dinner served at the same time as the lunch tray. Dinner came in a sack. I've talked about in other videos, called them Johnnies. It's either going to be peanut butter and jelly sandwich, some kind of sweat meat, mystery meat, pastrami, ham concoction looking kind of thing. It was a thick slab, and there was another thick slab of cheese that was on it. Always white bread, usually 2 sandwiches in a sack, maybe a couple of boiled eggs, depending on. And instead of fruit, they would get some kind of no-name, nameless fruit bar. It's served in lieu of that. So once we gave them that tray, we also gave them that sack that served as their dinner. Okay? They were happy to get that particular tray. They weren't happy to get their dinner in the sack. They called it their hot trays. They knew they weren't getting hot food for dinner. So depending on who you dealt with, they could be pretty upset when you got ready to open that slot and hand them the tray and their dinner at the same time. What made it easy on us, once we were done taking them to the shower, once we'd passed those trays out, you're just waiting your time. Just hanging out, do your security rounds. Excuse me. Do your security rounds and make sure nobody's hanging themselves. What really stood out in my mind on this particular day, we'd come in and it was really just like any other day. Our turnout room, it didn't have any kind of decorations in it, nothing. Lieutenant Raymond had called in that day. I don't remember what the lieutenant's name was. He normally worked on night shift. Big dude. He greeted us, gave us our brief, didn't even acknowledge that it was Christmas. Okay, didn't even mention it. We were sitting in the break room. We were sitting in turnout room, and we had mentioned it to each other, the ones that you were civil with, cordial with, Lava Lamp, Campbell, Miss Sorrell. She was interesting. We'd say it to each other, but after that, it was done. We didn't talk about what we were doing, plans, nothing like that. Was anybody going anywhere? No. So we got our assignments. I was working in Bravo Pod. I really lucked out for that particular day because Bravo Pod, not only was it not very difficult to manage because the classification of the inmates, and I didn't have a problem with anyone in there, I got to work it by myself. Cool. A through B, Alpha Bravo Charlie, you could run it by yourself. Now, we were pretty short-staffed that particular time. I'm not sure if guys had already been selected to work general population, if we had just a huge number of individuals call in, or what the deal was. But the Christmas before that, in 2013, man, they had COs lined up waiting to get in, ready to get that overtime. Well, 2014, not so. So I'm not exactly sure what happened. So I'm working Bravo Pod. I go in, relieve not the day shift, damn it. Relieve the night shift. We exchange our pleasantries. Didn't know the guys. They didn't know me. Wasn't uncommon to not know the others on shift. And start the day. Picket boss gives me the board, gives me the cuffs, the keys, and everything. And I go down the area, bang on the door, and instead of you want shower, you want rec, it was, hey, you want shower? By the time I got to the 4th cell, inmate asked me, hey, what about rec? And I yelled out, no rec, Christmas Day. For once, the pod didn't erupt. There wasn't any beating, banging, hollering. There were some grumblings, some moans, but I didn't have any trouble. It was really weird. Okay, he didn't buck, didn't nothing, whatever. I made all my rounds, marked off who wanted showers. I don't remember how many of them there were, and I started taking the guys to the shower. Guy would cuff up, you pull him out the cell, walk him down to the end of the tier, put him in the shower. I described previous video. Shower had the face opening, had the slot for the hands. They take their shower. I put one guy in the shower, go up to the second tier, put him in the shower, kind of stand there, hang out a little bit, yell down below, whatever cell number it was. Let's just say number 2. Hey, cell number 2, you ready in the shower? Yeah, man, I'm ready. A lot of times they wanted out because normally the water wasn't hot. So I go down, take him out. Cool. He's toweled off and everything. Put him in his cell. And then they'd ask you, hey, what they serving on the tray today? I don't know. I went through that, pulling guys out, putting them in the shower. Everything's going good. Tray cart comes in. I go over to it, check out the food. Okay, get the counts right, put it all in. Serving trays by yourself could be a bit of a pain because I've got that big metal tray carrier that carries 7 trays. I've also got pictures of, for the standard trays, it was either a red or a gray or a purple, not gray, an orange or a purple beverage. For the diets, usually it was some kind of milk. It had ice in it. I don't typically drink my ice, milk with ice, but this shit did. And the guys loved the milk. I don't know why. I don't know if they used it to make other stuff or if they just really like drinking it. Personally, myself, I'm not a milk drinker, so I didn't get the connection. But guys would practically fight over that milk. They'd make bets, they'd make deals about it. Boss, if you can get me some milk, I'll give you my rec for the next week. What the hell are you doing with that milk that you want so much? So passing it out by yourself could be a bit of a pain. So I did the best I could. Cool. Get the trays passed out. And they're in a good mood. They're talking to each other about what the food is. A couple of them were pretty upset that they were getting their dinner in a sack. In fact, 2 of the cells, God, I wish I could remember the number. I remember 2 of the cells. I set the tray down. They took it. I set the sack down. Hey, what the fuck's this? That's your dinner. Hand come flying out. I ain't taking that. You go get me a hot tray. Okay, man, go ahead and go sit down on your bunk. Take your tray. I'd look in, and when I'd see that he'd getting ready to set his tray down on his thing, I'd reach down, I'd grab that sack, throw it in the slot, slam it real shut. They'd run at the door, chest hit the door. Boss, man, that's some hoe ass shit. But hey, man, I want to speak to Sergeant. Whatever. I got the slot closed. I'm moving on to the next one. And guys would actually yell at these guys. Hey, man, sit your ass down. Shut up. You're interrupting the game. Hey, sit down. Shut up. One of the things the guys pretty much all had in common, they loved listening to some kind of sports on the radio. They could buy little radios from commissary. It didn't have an external speaker. It was just, it plugged in and they had little earbuds. Well, they'd manipulate it and they'd get the sound to come out of that external speaker. And the guy in the cell next to him and to the other side, they could hear the game as well. Well, these guys would get really creative. Okay, they could actually make speakers. They could buy cookies, not cookies, that came in the plastic container. They could buy crackers. They could also buy tissue paper. And it would come in not so much, I guess it's like cardboard, not like a cardboard box, but the real thin cardboard container that would have the 4 sleeves of crackers in it, like you buy from the grocery store. They could take this thing, fold it up, shape it. The sound would travel through, and it was a speaker. Think like back to, those of you who are old enough, think back to the 80s, the 90s, when we had those big box speakers, or that they had back in the clubs when they would start thumping and the girls would get on and dance on them. That was not that kind of a speaker, but it had the same kind of effect. These things would actually thump and you could hear it all over the pod. Now, they were contraband. We were supposed to confiscate them if we did catch them when we did our cell searches. Being by myself, I couldn't open the cell and go in and really do anything by myself. I could pull the guy out, take him to the shower, but here's the thing. If I pull the guy out, take him to the shower, go in his cell, take his speaker, he's going to know what's going on because he's going to be looking down. Others are going to be looking out. They're going to yell at him and tell him what happened. When I take him out of that shower, what do you think's going to happen? Fight's going to be on. So, was I going in trying to confiscate those speakers that day? Nope. Did I confiscate a lot of them? Yep. This particular day, I wasn't going to mess with them. So, the guys loved any kind of sports they could get on the radio. And Christmas is full of sports. Football, basketball, even golf. You guys are playing golf on Christmas? Really? Okay, they could pick it up. Obviously, they couldn't view it because it wasn't TV, but they could hear it. And every single one of them gambled. I don't know of one particular inmate I dealt with that didn't have some kind of a gambling habit. They would bet either their commissary, they would bet their wreck in their shower. I never understood this one, okay? They got wreck every day unless something was going on. If they were on some kind of weird restriction. I couldn't give somebody, if I was an inmate, I couldn't give someone my wreck day. If that guy was on cell restriction, I couldn't say, "Hey boss, I'm giving my wreck to cell number 7." No, they make bets on it, and 3 and 4 they made bets on it. If 4 won and 3 lost, 3 days of wreck, he wouldn't tell you he lost to gambling. That was illegal. When you go to, "Hey, you want shower? You want wreck?" "Just shower, boss." "No wreck?" "No wreck." Wouldn't tell you why. I didn't ask. But he owed 3 days worth of wreck for losing that guy. That he didn't have to do. He didn't have to make that bet. The guy wasn't getting anything. It's not like he's getting, the guy who wins, it's not like he's getting 2 extra hours worth of rec time. So why they did it, I don't know. They had some kind of gambling addiction problem. Guys that play checkers with each other. I got a checkerboard in my cell. He's got one in his. I tell him which way I move the piece. He moves the piece in his cell. Now, if they're being honest about it, it's going to work out in the end. The guys did that all the time. More so on the night shift than the day shift. Day shift, they were all concerned about getting to the wreck and yelling at each other. So, they would also bet commissary items. How they would get those items to it, I could do a whole nother video on that one. That's all about their trafficking and trading and fishing. So, man, they were gambling like crazy that particular day. Passing notes to each other. You'd be down at the picket and see a little slip of paper come flying out of a cell, hanging on by a piece of string. You see another piece of string come flying out of the cell. It'd wrap around it, and it'd yank it right back into the cage. I say cage, cell, same thing. You had to be real careful. You're thinking, oh, just walk over, grab the line, and yank it out. You had to be real careful doing that, because a lot of those lines, they'd be coated with something. Shit, piss, guy has some kind of disease. If you weren't wearing gloves and you grabbed onto that line and he pulled it, that string could cut your hand. Now you got some kind of infection in you. Or they throw it out on it's out on the floor, you reach down to grab it, he pulls it. And now you're chasing after it. And while you're chasing after it, everyone else is laughing at you. Or they start doing the real trafficking and trading in the other cells over there just to draw your attention away from it. So there was a fairly decent amount of that going on that day, and I ignored it. Once they saw that I wasn't trying to get after the kites, man, they were coming out left and right. It looked like fishing at rollover pass, just fishing lines coming out left and right, bets going on. I'm not going to say I earned any favor with the guys, but I know that they did appreciate that I let them do their thing. Okay, an inmate's got an inmate, a CO's got a CO. You got to know where that balance is. And Christmas for them, I wasn't going to mess with it. I wrote a couple of cases for cells that I saw. I had to just to do the job, but otherwise, I wasn't being officer regulation that day. I wasn't in a bad mood. They weren't jacking with me. They were just doing business with each other. It was what it was. Came close to the shift, getting ready to end. Okay, I had already passed out all the trays. I'd slopped everything, meaning had the trays returned to me. Showers were all done. It was relatively quiet in the pod. You could hear games coming out from some cells. Guy would start yelling when his team won. Another guy would start yelling when his team lost. I know that they were tallying up bets for everything that they were going to get. How they got it, that'll be a whole nother video. Night shift came on. I actually shook hands with the guy. Once again, I don't remember his name. I remember his face. He was one that I did relieve quite a few times. I'd already been there for 2 years. He had been there a lot longer than I had. We shook hands, gave him a brief of what was going on. And as I got ready to leave, I yelled out, "Hey, you guys have a good one. Merry Christmas to those of you that care." And I heard a chorus of yells come out. "Merry Christmas, balls," and voices yelling over each other. The Muslims, they usually didn't care about it. They didn't celebrate it. But the ones that did, they started yelling it back at me, and turned and I left. It was one of the few, relatively decent days that I actually had there. I knew my days were numbered by that time. Message had already come out about going back on active duty. So I already had that in my mind, and I got through the facility, got in my car, went home. I had family over at the house already. They were waiting for me to get off. Did Christmas after that. Went to work the next day. Just another day. And that video, when I get ready to do that one, we'll talk about how the guys had to pay back all their gambling debts. That was usually rock and roll. Folks, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. Merry Christmas to everyone. Take care of yourselves. I'll see y'all in the next one.